Clare knows how to read. Clare knows how to read.
Welcome back to Clare Knows How to Read, a spin-off of Transqat the podcast and an attempt to justify buying too many books by sharing them with you. You're welcome. I recently reread T.J. Klune's House in the Cerulean Sea as a prelude to tucking into his delicious sequel, the 2024 Somewhere Beyond the Sea. I shelve these books in the YA section of my queer bookshelves, but I think they're easily accessible to adults as well. About Cerulean, I am quite unable to be objective. This is probably my favorite book of the 21st century, and don't tell anyone, but every time I see a copy, I hug it. I'm serious, it's that wonderful. Cerulean introduces us to one Linus Baker, a meticulous but beleaguered bureaucrat from Dichomy, the department in charge of magical youth. He's a social worker who evaluates the conditions found in the orphanages where said magical youth are warehoused. Linus himself is not magical, but he does genuinely care about the kids he deals with. He is, however, more devoted to the book of rules and regulations, all caps. As I said, meticulously so. One day, extremely upper management summons Linus and gives him a delicate, high-priority, hush-hush assignment. He is ordered to spend a month at the orphanage on Marsyas Island, where 6 magical youth reside. Linus is told that EUP has reason to believe that the kids might not be safe under the care of the master of the orphanage, one Arthur Parnassus. If the idea of a world where magical and human beings interact, and where an intricate bureaucracy oversees the former, sounds familiar to you, well, congratulations. That means you get the point. This is the anti-Hogwarts. The kids under Arthur's care are the equivalent of the island of misfit toys. You will find no prophecy-fulfilling chosen one here. Well, with one rather alarming exception. These are the kids nobody wants. The kids who would slip through the cracks if not for this safe haven. Cerulean is a thinly veiled allegory for queer youth. These kids suffer from trauma. Arthur, who understands that all too well, he's the victim of the system himself, loves his kids accordingly. It quickly becomes clear to Linus that Dichomy is especially worried about Arthur's ability to control one of his wards in particular, because that child, Lucy, is the Antichrist. Yep. That Antichrist, son of the devil, scion of hell, destroyer of all things. And the Antichrist is a 6-year-old boy who could well be described as neurodivergent. The remainder of Arthur's charges are Talia, a bearded gnome, Fee, a sprite, Theodore, a wyvern, Sal, a lycanthrope of sorts who transforms into a Pomeranian, and my favorite of the bunch, Chauncey. Klune describes him this way. There, standing, or sitting, in the hallway, a tiny dog peering out around him was an amorphous green blob with bright red lips and black teeth and eyes on stalks that stuck high above his head, seemingly moving independently of each other. He didn't have arms so much as tentacles with tiny little suckers along their lengths. He was not quite see-through, although Linus could make out the faint outlines of Sal hiding behind him. Even in this found family of outcasts, Chauncey is unique. No one knows what he is, although they do know how laser-focused he is on his life's goal, to be a bellhop. Nothing gives him greater pleasure than carrying someone's bags to their room and getting a small tip for the effort. I love Chauncey with all my heart. Linus's arc, of course, lies in realizing that not only are these kids not in danger, they are, in fact, loved and nurtured as they would be nowhere else. This is not an orphanage, Arthur frequently reminds Linus. This is a home. There's silliness and joy as Linus comes to know each of the kids and they him. There's conflict as his growing attraction to Arthur threatens to compromise his beloved objectivity. And there's intrigue as it becomes clear that Dicomie has ulterior motives for sending him. The pull quote from V.E. Schwab on the cover of the book captures my feelings perfectly. It is like being wrapped up in a big gay blanket. And in 2020, when the book came out, amidst the chaos of a pandemic and the big lie and the beginnings of a systematic attempt to dismantle American democracy, I really needed that blanket. Somewhere Beyond the Sea, the sequel, is told from Arthur's point of view. We get a deeper look at his backstory. Linus, Zoe Chapel-White, and each of the kids gets a satisfying arc here. In particular, I was delighted to watch young Sal come into his own. And as a point of safety, please do not be drinking anything when you catch up with Chauncey on page 16. This book should have come with a big warning across the front. In the wake of the events at the end of Cerulean, extremely upper management is no more. And into the power vacuum at Dicomie steps the Minister of Education, the devious and treacherous Janine Rauder. Get it? J. Rao? The allegory is pretty clear, but in case it wasn't, here's a quote from the acknowledgments at the end of Somewhere Beyond the Sea. I do want to be remembered as something, and it's very specific. Not the Antichrist, but the anti-J.K. Rowling. I want to be her antithesis, her opposite. I want my stories to fly in the face of everything she believes in. At the end of the day, she has no idea who I am, and that's okay. I'll still be here chugging away, making sure queer stories are told. And I won't be doing it alone. There are so many queer authors writing stories that matter, important stories that show all the different facets of our lives. To make it unequivocal, J.K. Rowling's beliefs on trans people are abhorrent and have no place in modern society. People like her, people who believe trans people are somehow lesser, deserved to be shunned until they disappear into the ether. Rauder, Rowling's avatar in this novel, fabricates a public outcry against Arthur, insinuating that he is raising not 6 traumatized magical kids, but the beginnings of an army that he will mobilize against Dicomie and the world itself. They are to be feared, regulated, and restrained. And she wants to acquire Arthur's most deadly weapon, in her mind, Lucy, for herself. Somewhere is a much more pointed satire of white Christian nationalism and gender-critical feminism than Cerulean was. But that's necessary given the changes in our world. Armed troops sent in to enforce the whims of a deluded politician. Hatred stoked against marginalized peoples. Children used as political pawns. The stakes are higher in Somewhere Beyond the Sea. Genuinely life or death stakes. One running theme is whether, when, and how an oppressed minority ought to use force to defend themselves. We've seen how closely Arthur works to help Lucy rein in his worst impulses. This time, Arthur finds himself wanting to lash out with his own fearsome power in defense of his kids. Added to the mix is that Arthur and Linus have decided to take in a 7th child. Given the political climate, they have to do this clandestinely. This child, David, is a Yeti, and we get to experience life on Marsyas through the eyes of this newcomer. He finds that the joy and the family on the island is a little too much to believe, a little too good to trust. Klune weaves all these storylines together into an epic final act, real cinematic stuff, a new status quo, possibilities for a 3rd novel, I hope. I needed this book. I'm so grateful to have a place to go in my imagination when the vitriol of this world gets to be too much. If you're looking for me, I'll be soaring with Arthur and Fee, gardening with Talia, hoarding buttons with Theodore, finding my voice with Sal, adventuring on a Saturday afternoon with Linus, and trying to find my best self with Lucy. I'll be in my room on Marcius Island where Chauncey will bring me my luggage, tip his jaunty bellhop cap, and extend his green tentacle, awaiting a tip. And for a little while, I'll be safe. Thanks for listening. If you know how to read, go get yourself some books of your own and read the hell out of them. Till next time, this is Claire Knows How to Read.
Claire knows how to read.